full-time miracle workers, which includes pulpit workers, concert singers. Those are also who are setting up crew for his live telecast. And these people, they remain in Canada or in USA to do fundraising and solicitation in all of Canada. So caroling, solicit person to person, from malls, business to business, parking lots, residential, and care homes, using CGF as soliciting organization, raising funds, capitalizing the marginalized children whenever there is earthquake, also on typhoons. They also use such a operation. So
Kayo
I
po
just
yung
can
nasa
show you
photos
that
kanina, ano po, Sir Dindo?
yes, I am the one doing this fundraising
Previous
because I really
photos niya,
was, I
yes.
believe on Pastor Apollo Sikibuli when I was converted. I have given my whole heart, whole full sincerity to support his mission. And that is the reason why I left my 65,000 yearly income to a 1,000 month income when when I lead his CGF Foundation in Canada, because I am the executive director of CGF Canada for since 2016. And so, if you can see all the slides, these are my children that was supposed to be with him, and they are being sent to Manila to do fundraising. As you see all of these names and also some of the slides, those are my sons and my daughters who are being involved in all of these practices. And also, those are the pictures. Another one also, what accommodation they will provide them. Can you show the yeah? These are the provisions of the sleeping places where the kids are really. I do not know if that is life that were there you are seeing there. And then the next slides. And also here, my son, who is also a minor, is also used by SMNI to do all of this. What is this kind of job in the filming industry? Now, I would like us to also know that the moment that they collected money, the following day, when they collect money, I am one of the person that they will ask to send money. And if you can see in the screen, I sent money to Teresita Dandan. This is
Sir Dindo,
209,500.
yung pangalang yon,
Yes.
there was also sa testimony kanina ni Ate Gingging, ni Miss Teresita, meron ding siyang binanggit na Tessie Dandan. So maybe this is the same person.
Yes, Madam Chair, she is the same person. She is one of the board of administrator assigned in the USA. Okay, and then
please
the
proceed,
next.
Sir Dindo.
Yeah. And then the next here is we have Dana Margina. There's also another person named Ingrid Canada, which is, I believe, she is in the forum right now. Ingrid Canada, Bringas Mabel, and also there's another one. Pomikpik is the name, Marlene Pomikpik. I also send all this money. What happened is when the money is collected for the whole night, which full-time workers in the streets, they come home almost early morning just to meet their quota, and then when they arrive, they will be counting the money, and then the people in the treasury department, they're going to ask someone from the members or full-time workers to send it to the Philippines right away without documentation from the CRA, which is Canada Revenue Canada, without any record that is kept here, so that it will be a tax or whatever things that the government wants to know how the Children's Joy Foundation is operating, and also the KOJC is operating. Now, I am one of the victims of his sham marriage. That's the reason why my children were already grown up when I brought them to Canada. But I thank God I rescued them from Davao, and they were released from Davao, and I was able to brought them here in Canada. I was asked to marry Maria Noraline Barrientos because her visa is expiring. And that my children I asked the minister, Dandy Cabahog, to bring my children to Davao, because I thought that they will be properly, and I can see that they have nurtured them, teaching them how to play music and everything, but I was not aware that they were being trafficked, child trafficking to many parts in Manila, and also in many parts of Davao and Mindanao. And so I got married to this person, and then I filed a divorce after those few years. And
Sir
here in
Dindo,
Canada, I
yung
want to
ganitong
mention this.
Oo, Sir Dindo, yung ganitong klaseng
Yes, madam.
operations ng marriage fraud, ongoing pa ba sila?
I I cannot say yes because I have been away from them since 2019. But since this has been a modus operandi of KOJC, not only in Canada, USA, Brazil, and even in the different parts of the country of the world, by which they want a worker from Davao to have a permanent status so that their existence there will continue to perpetuate. That's the recent thing. And I just want to mention this, Madam Chair. The administrator here in Canada, which is the sister of Ingrid Canada, Marie-Théo Canada, is also one of a sham marriage here. So get married to one of the worker. One also is Elizabeth Carrion is also one because he was a previous board of administrator here in Canada. And Ferdinand Cabahog, which is Dandy Cabahog in the schematic plan from the police. Jeremiah Carrion, Marvin Reynes, Arlen Rillion, Zar Buenafe, Beric Nana, and many, many more names that I can give to you to prove to the fact that these sham marriages are really happening. And as I told you, I am one of the victim of this scheme. Another thing also that I want to add is that Rose Di Magnaong appointed me as she's the in charge of the of the CGF Philippines, and also in Canada and Australia and Nepal and Hong Kong, which is not really registered. CGF is not even registered there. But the head of all the operations is still ACQ, which is Apollo Sikibuloy, who controls the withdrawals of funds, particularly from CGF Canada bank accounts, of which funds were used not for children's benefit, but the benefit of certain personalities and KOJC Canada Church's operations. In 2016, Rose Di Magnaong hired me to assist with the possible rebooking of their license by the CRA. Reason for that, because there has been a report of misappropriation of funds, which I tried to justify to the CRA. But I want us, this forum, to know that in KOJC, telling lies and cover up of KOJC is a normal part of their culture from the very beginning. That is how they groom lies and cover up. Some of these full-time miracle workers who are in the streets for more than 12 to 16 hours soliciting to pay off luxurious cars and mansions, which I'm a witness of the mansions being owned here, instead of feeding hungry, destitute children in the Philippines.
Thank you very much.
These are the reasons why.
Yes, Sir Dindo. Meron pa
These
po
are
sa
the reasons
presentation
why-
nyo.
I will be closing now,
Yes,
Madam.
please
But these
proceed.
are the reasons why the CGF was closed. Can I continue, Madam?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Failure to devote resources to charitable activities. That's the reason why CGF, that's number one, why they were closed here. Number two, failure to be constituted for exclusively charitable purposes. Number three, failure to issue receipts in accordance with the Act of and its regulations. Because here in Canada, every donations requires a receipt so they can present it to the CRA for tax deductions. Failure to maintain adequate books and records. Because the reason why I left, because I cannot justify all of the expenses, including sending 60,000 just to pay off fuel for a jet. Which I said, this is not for children's purposes, but this is for personal purposes of whoever. The proof of the file can be found in the internet. Now, I want us to understand that ACQ controls CGF Canada through his administrator, Marie-Théo Canada, who does all the instruction of withdrawals from CGF bank accounts, especially the 60,000 that I already mentioned. Now, this is not only 60,000, Madam Chair. This is millions of dollars being collected from September to February, that is the month of blessing, aside from January to December, which is 365 days of money laundering, collecting the money from the Canadian public instead of giving it to the hungry people in the Philippines. They use it and send it right away to the accounts aforementioned in my presentation. So whenever ECQ full-time workers reported to the police for any abuses such as rudeness, and they have some human rights violation, like one of the full-time worker, tried to entice a mentally challenged boy, and she even went to the bank machine, insert the bank machine of that boy, and then collected money, more than $500 from that boy. And she's been like at large now, but the police has been looking for her, but they send her to Australia. And that is how this operation is happening. When you are not allowed to work on a certain country, they will send you to some other countries. Like I was in Australia because I was the one who assigned to open CGF in Australia. But they are now under investigation, so much so here in Canada. Now,
Thank you.
I want
Meron
to
pa po ba,
close
Sir
this.
Dindo?
Yes, I'm closing now,
Yes,
Madam.
please.
This
Thank
will be
you.
the last. The last. I left this organization after I have seen all of these lies and financial manipulation that includes my mother, Andrea Garcia Larson, who is not rich, but have given ACQ almost 3 million pesos because she believes on him as her sacrifice offering, not minding she has no more money for her retirement. She died with COVID in 2022. I sent an info to Rose Di Magnaon that my mother died. I never have received any sympathy from them. And aside from that, the same year, when my mother gave this money to Apollo Sikibuloy, my children were taken off from the scholarship of his institution, which is Jose Maria College, which I really feel bad as a father who has been working for him and working for his ministry with all my whole heart, because I give my heart to his ministry and I was treated like this. I feel bad that when my mother died, they just ignore. His doctrine are deceitful claims, a blasphemy to the Son of God. But may I speak to Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, Madam Chair, if you allow me?
Sir Dindo, I would allow that sa parehong paraan kay Miss Yulia kanina through the chair, kaya lang medyo ginigipit na po tayo sa oras. But if you would like to put your message to Kibuloy in writing, pwede po naming itanong sa korte if they will allow it to be sent to him, kung maari po, Sir Dindo.
Yes, ma'am.
Salamat po.
Thank you
Maraming
so much.
salamat. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sa pag-participate.
Thank you so much for this
sa ating
courage.
hearing. Thank you so much, Sir Dindo. I'm sorry about your mother, but I hope na kayo na mga anak mo, you're really rehabilitating your life together now. Salamat po, Sir Dindo.
Yes.
Dako naman po ako briefly sa kina Miss Kath Cortez ng NUJP at Miss Edita Caduaya ng Mindanao Independent Press Council. Andito, yes ma'am. Salamat Miss Edita. Miss Edita, sa coverage nyo po dun sa law enforcement operations para arestohin si Kibuloy, ano po yung na-observe nyo? Meron po bang nangyaring police brutality dun sa narrative po na iyon?
So far, walang police brutality sa part namin. Kami yung na-brutalized.
Oh, paano po
Sorry.
nangyari yon?
Kasi every media member na pumunta doon, the members of the press, we've been subjected to harassment, intimidation, threat. And it came to a point na ako mismo, hinarap ko sila kasi if hindi ko sila tuturuan kung paano masaktan, paano nila ma-feel yung nafe-feel namin.
Actually, yun yung pangalawang at huling tanong ko, naharas po ba ang media at saan galing yung harassment na yon? Sa PNP ba? Sa KOJC ba? Sa iba pa?
Nung day 1, that was August 24, feeling namin we were cheated of the basic information from both ends. Alam ni Atty. Torian. Hindi kami lumabas si Atty. Torian, nandyan siya. Alam ni Director Torre. Day 1, we were at the roadside. lumabas si Attorney Torre, na-accommodate naman kami. Later on, lumabas si Director Torre, na-accommodate naman kami. That was August 24. On August 25th, ito na yung first confrontation ng members of the press with some members of KOGC sa main highway.
Okay.
Ito yung August 25. And August 26, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:30 in the afternoon, ako as president of MIPC, I went to see Attorney Torion and General Torre. Nagpapirma kami ng papel para yung for a harmonious relationship, harmonious coverage. That was 1:30 in the afternoon. After 5 hours, about approximately 6 hours, yun, nagsimula na naman yung nahulog yung taga TV5. Then, nasundan 9 o'clock in the evening. That was 9:10 in the evening. Ako na yung na-confront ng members ng KOGC. In fairness naman kay Atty. Torion, every time nagdadaing kami sa kanya, he kept on apologizing. It came to a point na nagtatanong kami with this beauteous, sprawling 30-hectare property, covered with plastic Bermuda. There are plastic people inside. Kasi nasasaktan na kami. I'm sorry, pero may mga mababait na super bait. May mga tuso talaga po. And we were not, ang kalaban namin is kami yung legitimate na nagko-cover. Kami pa yung tinatawag na bayaran na sila man na yung tumatanggap. Kami na nga yung, I'm not referring to the key officials here. Okay? But this is a question of leadership. Hindi namin tanggap na pinuputang na kami ng mga members ng KOGC habang nandun sila nag-aamin-amin. Parang ano kayo, banal? Kami yung makasalanan? Yun yung Pastor, I know, Madam Chair, that
Yes,
the
Ms.
pastor is
Edita,
here.
please don't address the other resource persons directly. Through the chair na lamang
Madam
po.
Chair, I know that the pastor is here. I would like to tell him, with the experience we have had, we are asking and questioning what went wrong with the religious teachings.
Okay po.
Kayo lang ba yung santo at kami yung makasalanan?
Okay po.
And
Okay.
ito yung pinaka-unfair. We were craving for information from both ends. But kami na naka-ID, kami nagtatago ng ID. Kasi ang SMNI people were ganging us up. Lahat naman sila media, kami komedya. Ano yun? Kami naman yung may mga lisensya eh. Lahat naman na sinasabi nila, like, may lockdown sa airport, hindi namin alam kasi hindi nangyari. 7 yung namatay, isa ang sinabi na Atty. Torion, isa lang yung na-confirm na Atty. Torion, of which ginawa namin. Kami naman yung fake. Ano bang totoo? Kami na nga yung naghihingi ng pabor, kami pa yung masama. And it came to a point na we were asking the BOA, Atty. Torion, na give us the access na makapasok. Ang sabi niya, he needs to ask the Board of Administrators, of which numbered to 350 people to get their approval, and that would be siguro isang buwan bago mangyari. And that was September 3. And at September 2. On September 3, after the press conference, dahil may daring game sila ni General Torre, bigla kaming hinatak sa basement na hindi kami na-brief ano yung mangyayari sa amin doon.
Okay. Miss Edita, at any point, nakaranas ba kayo personally ng pananakit mula sa KOJC or SMNI or even PNP?
Pananakit na physical kami?
Apo.
O malapitang enkwentro? Ano ba?
Either.
May nahulog po na taga TV5.
Yung taga TV5,
May
okay
video
po.
kami. But I'm sorry, it takes 12 minutes. Kasi nandun lahat since day 1 hanggang natapos.
Okay. Siguro po dahil nga po sa usapin ng panahon, Ms. Edita, ma-appreciate po ng komite kung isubmit nyo sa amin yung kopya nung 12-minute video para po sa committee report namin, findings and recommendations. Pero palagay ko, mahalaga na po na nasabi nyo both sa KOJC OJC at sa PNP leadership yung mga feedback nyo sa naging karanasan nyo sa coverage and yung mga improvements na gusto nyo makita moving forward. So maraming salamat po sa presensya at saka sa inputs nyo
Madam
dito sa
Chair,
hearing na
can we
ito.
just-
Miss Edita.
My group is listening and
Yes.
watching you right now.
Yes.
Can we just ask the chairperson of the Committee on Women and Children that the Senate can improve or amend the policy about the coverage involving women and children,
Okay.
especially in a hostile situation. And I hope that you can talk with the Committee on Information, Public Information, because the midterm election is approaching, and we need at least a cloth of security from the government and the PNP. So we can work well, and that's all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yes, thank you din, Miss Edita. Lalo na sa pagbibigay nyo sa amin ng isang konkreto pang in aid of legislation. Ano po? Tama naman kayong pagpapaganda dun sa batas tungkol sa coverage in yung ganitong mga either tense or even dangerous situations, particular sa kababaihan at kabataan. And well taken po yung pwede kami makipagtrabaho sa Senate Committee on Public Information. Maraming salamat, Ms. Edita. Bago tayo dumako sa mga government agencies and then finally yung ways forward na may inputs mula sa NGOs at saka sa government agencies din natin, bigyan ko ng pagkakataon individually si Mr. Crescente Canada, si Ms. Ingrid Canada, si Ms. Jacqueline Roy, si Ms. Pauline Canada, at si Sylvia Semañez. One after the other, kung meron po kayong gustong iresponde sa mga victim survivors na nagsalita. So feel free to express what you want to say to them or about yung mga testimonya nila through the chair. So yeah, kahit tig isang minuto, take at least 1 minute. Mr. Canada muna.
Magandang hapon po.
Magandang hapon. Iharap niyo po yung mic sa inyo.
Magandang hapon po, Madam Chair.
Magandang hapon.
I invoke my right to remain silent. Tapos, sa korte lang po ako sumasagot sa lahat ng mga akusasyon sa akin po. Salamat po.
All right. Salamat din, Mr. Canada. Ms. Ingrid Canada.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm also invoking my rights to remain silent.
All right. Salamat, Ms. Canada. Ms. Jacqueline Roy.
Thank you for this opportunity, Madam Chair. Still, my answer is the same. I am invoking my right to remain silent and the right against self-incrimination. Thank you.
All right. Salamat, Ms. Roy. Ms. Pauline Canada.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. And also, Madam Chair, with all due respect, I'm invoking my rights to remain silent and against self-incrimination. Thank you.
All right. Salamat din. And Ms. Semañez.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Also, I invoke my right to remain silent po.
All right. So at least binigyan kayo ng komite ng pagkakataon na magkomento sa alinman sa mga testimonya ng mga victim survivors. So anyway, so maraming salamat sa inyo. So pwede ba tayong dumako ngayon sa mga government agencies natin? Sa DSWD? Nasaan po yung resource person ng DSWD? Si Ms. Charito Esteban. Nakapagsumpa kayo kanina, ma'am? Okay, salamat po. So, Ms. Charito, narinig po natin sa ilan sa mga victim survivors natin yung tungkol sa trafficking operations, lalong-lalo na halimbawa para dun sa tinatawag na Month of Blessings, na nagpapatuloy pa rin yun kahit habang dinadaos natin itong investigasyon. May mga efforts po ba ang department para i-address yun?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. With regards to the trafficking and abuse made, conduct a rescue in Region 11, in Davao in particular, it's not happened not particularly in our office standards bureau, but it is in collaboration with our DSWD Field Office 11. We will submit a report regarding this matter with regards to the collaboration with our field officers po. Thank you, Madam.
Salamat po. At baka pwede ring habang nagbabudget hearings ang Senado para kung may anumang mga programa na nag-a-address kumokontra sa trafficking operations sa ilalim ng department, ma-check din po ng Senado o ng buong Kongreso na sufficiently supported yon. Okay po. Ano po yung... sorry. Narinig din po natin mula sa marami-rami sa ating mga victim survivors na yung Children's Joy Foundation ay ginagamit bilang front para pilitin yung mga bata na maglimos at mag-caroling para mag-fundraise. So, ano po yung status ng accreditation ng CJF? Registered pa po ba yung foundation sa department?
Madam Chair, the license to operate of the Children's Joy Foundation expired last March 2024, and they applied for renewal of its registration and license to operate. It complied, but the DSWD held its application for renewal of license held in abeyance until such time it can prove its financial capacity. So far, we are assessment of issuing the license to operate based on the technical, administrative, and financial capacity of the organization. That's.
Salamat, Ms. Cherito. And nalimutan ko ring banggitin kanina kay Sir Dindo na yung mga evidence na hinahawakan nila ng alleged pati money laundering no doon sa Canada ay pwedeng kung hindi pa na ipapaabot sa PNP at sa DOJ ay pwede pong maipaabot sa department at saka sa National Police. Sunod, Ms. Charito, ano pang ibang KOJC affiliated na charitable organizations o foundations ay rehistrado sa department? At ano yung mga status naman nung mga iyon?
Based on the last hearing po, 3 organizations were mentioned to include Children's Joy Foundation Incorporated, which is now the license to operate already expired, and with regards to their children already transferred to other residential facilities. So currently they are stopped operating now. The 32 children under their supervision is now transferred to other residential facility registered licensed by the DSWD or reintegrated to their respective families as well as to place in the foster care families po. The other organizations mentioned previously are the Alay sa May Kapansanan and Handog ng Pagmamahal. Both of them are with expired license and already delisted from the DSWD registration roster of registered and licensed social welfare development agencies, which were already referred to appropriate agencies like Securities and Exchange Commission. Thank you po. We'll give the jurisdictional personalities po. Thank you.
Salamat po, Social Welfare Officer Charito. And kung meron mang sineserbisyohan talaga dun sa Alay sa May Kapansanan, na i-refer na rin po ba sa ibang mga Persons with Disabilities Foundations na maaring mag-partner din sa kanila?
So far, nung nag-validate po, non-existing naman po doon sa location po. Thank you po.
Okay, I see. Ano po yung medium at saka long-term plans ng DSWD sa pagtulong sa rehab at saka reintegration ng mga trafficking survivors, lalo na yung mga babae at bata? Or bahagi po ba yon sa report na isasubmit nyo sa komite?
Madam Chair, yes po, will be included in that report. Thank you po.
Salamat po. And although ito kaugnay din sa DepEd, itatanong ko rin po sa kanila mamaya, dun sa mga batang di nakapag-aral, ano po yung maaaring gawin para i-bridge yung learning gap nila?
Yung mga hindi po nakapag-aral, may mga ilang programa po ang DSWD where we assist them for that specific programs. And if there are, will be transferred to our residential facilities. We also provide educational assistance. Thank you po.
Salamat po. At huli, ano yung ginagawa ng DSWD para makapagbigay ng reparations at livelihood dun sa mga victim survivors na maaring nangangailangan nito?
Maybe we could include that in that report, Madam Chair. Thank you po.
Yes, please do. At maraming salamat, Social Welfare Officer Charito. Salamat po. Para po sa DILG, ayan, si Asek. Asek Benitez, yes sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, sir. Asek, may ideya po ba ang DILG kung saan-saan sa Pilipinas nakalocate yung mga miyembro ng KOJC?
Well, as far as primary information is concerned, we always leave that to the PNP, Madam Chair.
And ano po yung mga plano ng department para tulungan yung mga victim survivors?
Well, even during under the watch of Secretary Abalos and now under the new secretary, the newly minted secretary, Secretary John Vic Rimulya, now the department always believes in a whole of government approach, vis-a-vis this problem. And the primary participation of the department will lie on looking into the possibility of involvement of our local government officials, particularly those with whom the department acquires direct authority. Now, in line with the delegated power of general supervision cascaded by the President in favor of the DILG Secretary. So what we're doing here right now is we're trying to identify local government officials in the local level now who had been found remiss in addressing basic deliverables and duties under the law, then probably move forward and proceed with potential case build-up, and then eventually the last stop would be the filing of cases. Now, all of these endeavors are being done in close coordination with the PMP, of course, with the DOJ, now with the other stakeholders in the government. But again, Mr. Chair, with your indulgence, I would like to go back to the initial episodes of this hearing wherein we always emphasize through this representation the inadequacy of the department insofar as disciplining our local government officials are concerned. Now, we are basically bereft of any authority to directly discipline our local government official. So that is a quote-unquote a mischief probably, for which we are being faulted, and we have been trying to move our best foot forward to call the attention of our legislators in particular to probably introduce amendments to the local government code and somehow put flesh and blood and possibly muscle into the authority of the department to discipline our local government officials, not only in the case of trafficking, mendicancy and abuses being perpetrated on the minor children that we have, but even the many transgressions being perpetrated by local government officials. If you will remember, Madam Chair, under the same committee, the case of Mayor Guo, in particular, if I can mention that instance, now, the many travesties being committed by local government officials, of which the only possibility that we can do is proceed with the case build-up and eventually file the case in the proper forum. Probably, now, the perspective would have been much more better and probably proactive if the department will have a direct involvement in disciplining our local government officials, Madam Chair.
Maraming salamat para doon, Asek Benitez, and the committee will really appreciate and i-share po namin sa Senate Committee on Local Governments kung meron pong proposed formulation ang department. Paano nga po mapaganda yung local government code in this aspect. And if I could just follow up one specific point na itanong ko rin kay Colonel Likud kanina, in terms of yung ginagawa ng department looking into the involvement of local government officials, meron po bang investigation ngayon or fact-finding kung yung local government sa Davao City ay nagprotekta sa anumang illegal activities ni Kibuloy or ng KOJC or ng Angels of Death for that matter?
Now, yes, Madam Chair, that is already included in our menu, but at this point in time, we have been prioritizing our fact-finding inquiries. Now, considering the lack of manpower that the department has at the moment, but inarguably that is within our table. And probably after we are done with the POGO issues, because the POGO issues has been or had been ramifying from one area into another, then probably we can set our attention and our energy to the Davao controversy insofar as these KOGC matters are concerned, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din, ASEC Benitez, at sa pagtsatsaga talaga ng department sa pagsubaybay sa mga issue na iniimbestiga din po namin sa Senado mula POGOs hanggang itong human trafficking, Kibuloy and KOJC. Lastly po, ASEC Benitez, may investigasyon, okay, naitanong na rin po ito kanina. Maraming salamat po, ASEC Benitez. Sa DOLE naman po, sino yung nandito para sa DOLE? Meron po ba? Wala ba, Comsec? Labor. All right, so the committee will just write the department yung mga labor and employment questions. Para po sa DOJ and specifically DOJ IACAT, will it be sino pong magsasalita for DOJ? Senior State Counsel Quintana. Yes, ma'am. Pwede niyo po ba kaming bigyan ng progress update dun sa mga kaso na nakahain na kay Apollo Kibuloy? If there's anything to add from what was earlier discussed. Oh, maybe, so it will be Deputy State Prosecutor Torrevillas. Yes, ma'am.
If I cannot discuss the merits of the 4 cases pending before the Quezon City Court. And
Attorney, I'm so sorry. Hindi pa ba kayo nakapagsumpa kanina?
Yes.
Hindi pa po. So may I ask you to? Sorry at this point. Comsec, pakipo.
Kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the Senate inquiry proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Yes, Senator. She answered affirmatively.
Salamat, Comsec, at salamat, Deputy State Prosecutor Torrevillas. Yes po, you have the floor on progress update sa mga kaso na inihain kay Kibuloy.
We have the pre-trial conference on October 22, both in Regional Trial Court in Quezon City and in Pasig.
Salamat po, Deputy State Prosecutor. And yung susunod ng tanong, kasi ay napag-usapan na rin po ninyo kanina kay Majority Leader Tolentino. So yung update sa extradition request ng US government. So salamat para sa muli sa naunang update dyan. Matanong po si Yusek Tapales ng Council for the Welfare of Children. So ito, pa-ways forward na po tayo, ano ang ating gagawin? Ano po yung sinasabi ng naging buong episode na ito sa estado ng mga batas natin para sa mga bata?
Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Isang makabatang hapon po mula sa Council for the Welfare of Children. Kagalang-galang na tagapangulo, of course, na natutuwa ho kami na napakayaman po ng information, kumbaga treasure trove of information po ang narinig natin po ngayon. Pero siguro just to set, to give some context, our present laws already address most, if not all, of the matters addressed today, particularly as early as 1974, PD 603 in Section 59 already prohibits improperly exploiting children, using them in begging and other acts inimical to their interest and welfare. That's Section 59, Item 7, and Section 59, Item 8. It already it already prohibits the infliction or inflicting cruel and unusual punishment on children and the deliberate subjecting of children to indignities or excessive chastisement. This particular provision was originally confined to parents, itong Section 59 po ng PD 603, but with the enactment of Republic Act 7610 in 1992, in Section 10 of Republic Act 7610, this was made to apply to any person who will commit any of the acts enumerated in Article 59 of PD 603. So pinaparusahan na po ito ng ating batas. At of course, we have 3 trafficking laws already, starting with the 2003 original Trafficking in Persons Act, the 2012 version, and the 2022 amendment. And of course, we leave it to the Philippine National Police and the DOJ on the characterization of the proper offense and of course the prosecution if so warranted, Madam Chair. But as our ways forward, listening to the discussions and the comments of everybody here, perhaps focusing now on the preventive side, because we have been discussing from the reporting, the rescue, from the prosecution, and to the eventual rehabilitation, perhaps for the Council for the Council for the Welfare of Children, because we are currently working with LGUs to standardize or to craft a standardized child protection policy, so the children interacting with LGUs will, of course, be protected at any times and free or safe from harm from the members of the LGUs themselves and even visitors and other guests of the LGUs. Marami pong mga sitwasyon dyan sa simpleng lulunsad po, kunyari, ng mga programa ng mga LGUs natin, may mga kasamang bata, nagtatransport ng bata, natutulog ang bata kasama ng mga adults. Yan po ay ilalatag po ng Council for the Welfare of Children at ipopropose po natin yan sa mga local government units, which of course will be measured during the execution and implementation of that child-friendly local governance audit. Ang wala pa po tayo, Madam Chair, at ito po idadagdag natin, is a standardized child protection policy for the private sector. Of course, we have a child protection policy for the schools. The DepEd released their child protection policy, I think, as early as 2012. I think they're one of the earliest, if not the earliest. But with respect to the private sector, like businesses, enterprises, offices, and even in church and religious settings, I'm not sure, I am not aware of any standardized child protection policy or any law, rule, or regulation requiring them to have such a document to, of course, ensure the protection of children while in their care or while belonging to such religion or denomination, or even protecting them from the members or even guests of these religions or denominations. So perhaps as a subject of future legislation, maybe we can look into a proposed legislation, perhaps recommending the adoption of child protection policies in the private sector, in the schools, in church settings, and even local government units, and of course, perhaps delegating the responsibility of monitoring and evaluating the implementation of child protection policies into a sturdy and strong agency, of course, like the Council for the Welfare of Children, and even perhaps a Philippine Commission on Children moving forward, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you also, Yusek Tapales. So it's beginning to sound like another example tulad nung binanggit din kanina ni, I think it was General Torre, yung whole of nation approach. So nagpo-partner na kayo sa LGUs, and then syempre from the get-go with the NGOs, no, civil society, nagpo-partner kayo sa LGUs, nagpo-push kayo ng child protection policy, nagpo-propose ng para sa private sector din, and then iba't ibang institusyon natin from schools, faith communities, at iba pa. So, salamat para doon. Lastly po, baka meron kayong gustong idagdag. Ano yung agenda ng Council of the Welfare for Children sa mga child victim survivors ng human trafficking?
Madam Chair, perhaps the most tangible contribution of the Council for the Welfare of Children insofar as violence against children is concerned, the CWC being a policy-making agency, is of course the Makabata Helpline 1383, which is being positioned as the main or focal or apex helpline of our government for all children's concerns, of course, covering violence against children, including sexual abuse, whether offline or online. We are in the process of having the Office of the President or the President sign an executive order institutionalizing the Makabata program, which will institutionalize and harmonize all the programs of our government relating to children in need of special protection, which includes children subjected to or victims of violence. And this will standardize the efforts of all of the government, from reporting, rescue relief, rehabilitation, and reintegration. And this executive order, hopefully when signed, will also institutionalize the Makabata Helpline 1383 as the main reporting mechanism of our government for children. And of course, for the National Children's Month, Madam Chair, we are focusing on child protection and child participation. As the PNP may know, based on the data of the PNP Women and Children Protection Center, for 2023, Madam Chair, they received a total of 18,756 reports of child rights violation, 17,304 of which constitute child abuse, rape, and acts of lasciviousness of children. So the spate of violence against children is still high in our country. That's why we are actively working, of course, with the PNP and the Department of Justice and other national government agencies, and of course our private sector partners and our legislative champions to really make a dent on the high incidence of BAC in our country, Madam Chair.
Maraming salamat, Yusek Tapales. So, ways forward na po tayo, dear colleagues, with our NGOs and our government agencies. Saan nagkulang yung ating lipunan? Yes, actually, I will call first the NGO here. Saan nagkulang ang ating batas? So, Executive Director Ellen ng Center for Migrant Advocacy. So, take first crack at it. Saan nagkulang yung ating batas at yung ating lipunan sa ganitong mga issue?
Thank you, Chair. Pero bago ko sumagot, gusto ko lang pong pasalamatan yung ating mga witnesses. Ito po ay hindi parang simpleng desisyon para lumabas sila at magpahayag ng mga kwento nila. Hindi ito haka-haka. So maraming salamat at hopefully marami pang mag-forward para magsabi ng kanilang mga testimonya. So yun yung una. Yung tungkol sa saan nagkulang batas, sabi nga ni Yusek Tapales, parang marami tayong batas both nationally at saka sa international. Member tayo, nag-ratifika tayo ng optional protocol. Tayo ay state party ng CEDAW. Tayo ay state party ng Convention on the Rights of Children. So palagay ko po, una, no-note sa atin yung forced labor, child labor, money laundering, trafficking, sexual exploitation. Lahat po yan may batas na sumasakop. Of course, karahasan laban sa kababaihan. But as we know as well, tuloy-tuloy din yung mga karanasan ng mga biktima, particular ng mga kababaihan at mga bata. So siguro po at this point, kasi usually ang argument ng perpetrator at minsan yung iba pang mga involved, pag walang kaso, walang problema. So pag walang nagrereklamo, walang problema. So I think this is a situation na kailangan din magbabantay yung ating mga komunidad na maging conscious tayo, especially yung karanasan natin sa Pogo na right in our midst, nandoon yung mga operations nila. So maging mapagbantay at hindi mo na lang iiwanan yung mga usapin ng karahasan sa bata at kababaihan sa mga immediate family members nila. So I think this is one situation na inuulit natin yung pagiging responsable natin bilang mamamayan, bilang kasama ng mga komunidad. And that said, Chair, I think yun nga, kailangan siguro repasuhin kung kulang yung national legislation. For example, trafficking is a transnational crime. Cross-border, so may mga money laundering, ang KOJC is operating in more than 20 countries or so. Sinabi ng ating PNP, they're already cooperating with the Austrian government or something. Ito yung nangangailangan ng cooperation nung ibang mga bansa. And hopefully, wala naman diyang sasabing kami ay nagsusuporta or nagkukonsinte ng money laundering or trafficking. As we all know, yung mga NGOs na suspetsyahan lang, i-red tag, i-freeze yung assets. So bakit sa ganitong sitwasyon na napakalaki ng operation and for these people to come out in the open, ay parang ano yan, big decision on their lives, pero ang tagal ng hustisya, ang tagal na makamtan, at yun nga, marami pa ring harassment na nararanasan sila as we proceed with this. So ang usapin, sana mapabilis, ma-expedite yung kaso, kasi justice delayed is justice denied. 3 decades, Chair, yung kinukwento, at ito ay pababulaanan na hindi nangyayari. Isa, siguro pwede kang mag-cast ng doubt, pero ilan yung nagsasabi at pare-pareho ang kwento nila. So I think we need to be more responsible and do something about the situation as soon as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Executive Director Ellen. So, gusto ko lang tanungin kung may government agency pa tayo dito, like the NBI, the commission, constitutional body like the Commission on Human Rights. Siguro yung dalawang iyon, kung meron po kayong maidadagdag dun sa ating pinaka-importanting closing questions na saan tayo... Opo. At saka yung, salamat Comsec, yung social security system din. No? Although, kaugnay po sana yun sa mga tanong sa DOLE. But at least sa CHR at sa NBI, kung meron po kayong gustong idagdag na hindi lang saan tayo nagkulang, no? Yung ating lipunan, yung ating mga batas, pero how do we move forward from all this? Yes, Chair Palpalatok.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Chair. As we are listening to the testimonies of the resource persons, Your Honor, we took note of several issues that may have interest to the Commission on Human Rights, among which are the sexual abuse, dry fasting, a spiritual discipline, fundraising activities or forced labor, false and or forced marriage, angels of death involved in supposed threats or killings, and the right to education of children. Ang napansin ko lamang po, while we took note that the relevant government agencies like the Philippine National Police, the Department of Justice are already conducting their mandate for the PNP to investigate and file cases, and for the Department of Justice to prosecute perpetrators. Ang often overlooked, Your Honor, is the function of the Commission on Human Rights. We hope that through this investigation, the parties, the persons involved, whether victims or the accused, would cooperate with the Commission on Human Rights, not only for purposes of enforcing accountability, but more importantly, to determine the actual situation, the human rights situation of the country. And also, for the Commission to arrive at the concrete policy recommendations for concerned government agencies like the legislature, to address the issues and to provide solutions. Ang isa pa hong napansin ho rin namin ay yung the issues involve abuses on women and children. And this is of interest to us because we are signatory to the, as mentioned earlier, the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women and the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And yes, we acknowledge that there are several laws already complying with these conventions. And what may be the problem is the implementation and the openness of the public in discussing it and also filing cases against the perpetrators. At ang isa pa ho sigurong, ilan pa ho siguro na ma-recommendation is empowerment of the victims. Kaya so strengthen ang advocacy po for their rights and how to protect their rights, and also capacity building for relevant agencies of the government, civil society organizations providing assistance to these victims, and also to the Commission on Human Rights. Yun lamang po muna. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Palpalatok. Meron po ba from the NBI on how do we move forward from this? Deputy Director Magno.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and to all the resource persons here. Yes, ma'am. On the part of the NBI, we would like to strengthen our anti-human trafficking division, our BAU-CD, and of course, to recognize these important roles of our agents in doing their cases. These cases are not simple. These cases goes to the mind, to the soul of every investigator and every agent when doing their work. In this regard, medyo nakukulangan po ang ating mga suporta dito sa ating mga ginagawa na ito. We can hear the testimonies right now, especially the one mentioned about 87,000 cases of child violation, sexual exploitation, hindi po maabot sa aming database yan. And of course, sana po with these reports, considering that the NBI is the national clearinghouse of criminal records, no, we would infuse these datas in our servers so that when the right time comes, magagamit po natin to. Especially with this committee, ma'am, nakita po natin na naumpisa natin yung the Senyor Aguila. Ito po ngayon, yung pong PBMA. Dumarami na po ito. Of course, this is a very sensitive issue regarding the separation of church and state, freedom of religion. But again, on our efforts with the DOJ, law enforcement, and other agencies, dapat po sigurong mabantayan, mamonitor para po hindi na umabot sa ganitong kalalim yung magiging sakit na iiwanan ng ganitong mga sitwasyon, Madam Chair. Yan lamang po.
Maraming salamat sa NBI. And I think CWC, isang area of further improvement. Among all agencies naman, yung information sharing para sa database, consolidation ng NBI at iba pa. So, dear colleagues, sinimulan po natin yung investigasyong ito dahil sa hinaing ng mga biktima survivor na lumapit sa aming opisina. Marami sa kanila ay nakipag-ugnayan sa opisina ko pagkatapos nilang masubaybayan ang aming Senate inquiry din kay Senyor Aguila, ang umano'y reincarnation ng Santo Niño. Tila magkapareho daw ang paraan ng pagbe-brainwash, pang-aabuso at pananamantala sa kanila ni Apollo Quiboloy, ang umano'y appointed Son of God. Pagkatapos ng mahabang kwento, pagtakas at pagtatago sa batas, sa huli ay hinarap na rin ni Quiboloy ang Senado. Hindi po naging madali ang naging laban natin. Tinatakot ang ating witnesses. May rally sa labas ng Senado sa tuwing may hearing dito noon. Kinasuhan kami. May iba't ibang kondisyones para di sila humarap dito. May effort para i-reverse ang ruling ng chair to cite him in contempt before. And now, we've heard sa hearing na ito na yung kampo ninyo, binantaan yung mga victim survivors natin, mga witnesses natin, at indirectly binantaan yung sarili kong staff. Pero hindi po tayong lahat nagpatinag. Dahil hindi natin ugaling matinag, lalo naman ng organisasyon na hindi milyon-milyon, libo-libo ang miyembro. So, human scale. Malaki man o maliit, ito ang malinaw. Quiboloy presided over a malicious and systematic subversion of personal will, autonomy, and dignity to make his victims participants in their own abuse, psychological, sexual, physical, and economic. Nagpresenta sila bilang Diyos at unti-unti niyang sinakop ang pag-iisip at katawan ng kanyang mga biktima. Ginamit niya ang kagustuhan nilang maging mabuti para gawan sila ng napakatitinding kasamaan. Sinubukan niyang basagin ang pagkatao nila at paglaruan ang mga piraso, pero hindi siya nagtagumpay. Our brave witnesses, victim survivors, are a testament to that. You may have taken control of their bodies, but the human soul is made of much stronger stuff. The courage of our witnesses, our victim survivors, is stronger than the divinity you claim. Kay Elias Amanda, shout out specially sa'yo. Sana naririnig mo ito. Kay Arlene Stone, na hindi nagpatinag din at hindi napagod. Isa pang shout out sa'yo, 10 sa mga kasama mo sa US at sa Canada. Alam ko, gising pa kayo. Mabuhay po sa inyo. Lahat po tayo ay may karapatan sa relihiyosong paniniwala. Pero kailanman, hindi ito katuwiran sa lantarang pang-abuso sa kapwa, lalo na ng mga kabataan at kababaihan. In the many painful hearings of the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, we tried to shed light on these base and unique evils. Now, we will try our best to ensure that our country's laws and policies leave no room for Kibuloy's inhumane and ungodly liturgies. It has not been a pleasure chairing these hearings, but it will always be the honor of my team in the office and our Senate committee to provide a platform for victim survivors of human trafficking and to shepherd laws that will protect them even more. Para kay Amanda, kay Arlene, kay Dindo, kay Jocelyn, kay Edward, kay Joar, kay Elias Marie, sa mga dating witnesses natin na sina Elias Rene at Elias David, of course to Yulia and our friends in Ukraine, and syempre kay Ate Gingging, pagpugay at pasasalamat sa inyong lahat. Amplifying your voices and the voices of all victims of human trafficking and violence is our lives' honor. Lagit-lagi para kay Inang Bayan. Ingat po ang bawat isa sa Bagyong Christine sa pag-uwi. Tulungan po natin ang ating mga kababayan sa Bicol at lahat pang bahagi ng Pilipinas na naapektuhan. Nang may lubos na pasasalamat sa lahat, this hearing is adjourned.